decent start. Uh, I was at my local hobby shop and I was digging through the old discontinued parts, and looky there, found some heavy duty lockers. So if you don't remember, it was, I don't even know, maybe a month ago or so. We decided to see if the AR-60 axle in the bomber and the AR-60 axle in the SMT-10 were compatible, if their diffs were interchangeable, if you could swap them back and forth, and we found out you could. So if you don't know anything about the SMT-10 axles, these are open diff, front and rear, both open diff. Great for bashing and monster trucking and all that stuff. But if you're going to go in like, thick mud or build a mega truck or something like that, you want to at least have that rear end locked. So what we did in the last live stream that I had these two trucks in was I took the locked front differential out of this bomber and put it in the rear of that SMT-10 axle. And then I took the open diff from the SMT-10 axle and put it in the front of the bomber. Now, I was thinking, open front diff, obviously I'll get a slightly better turning radius. Maybe it'll be a funner rig or something like that. In reality, I did not like it. Didn't care for it. It wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. Yes, you can, in fact, turn tighter. I thought about making a whole video on it, and I decided against it because it wasn't going to be worth anybody's time for me to tell you that an open diff in the front of an axial bomber is not fun. I mean, even brushless, which we'll get to that in a minute, but even brushless, you're gonna balloon one tire trying to get up a hill or something, and it's not as fun. So we're going back to locked diffs, front and rear. We may even lock the front on this big fella here. We might do some because this truck, which I haven't announced it yet, but this truck is going to be going to Beat the Creek just in case the weather gets a little too muddy. We're going to bring the mega truck. We're not getting stuck in that bad boy. We may bring this also. You never know. This might hit the trails. And we'll talk more about that kind of stuff later. Like I'll do a live stream specifically around Beat the Creek once we get a little closer to Beat the Creek. We still got, I think 9 weeks. I think we got 9 weeks to go on that. But I didn't want to get too far into this without showing you guys how to do this. I haven't seen too many videos on people actually showing you how to install a locker, which I don't know if it's across the board the same every single time, but this is what an open differential looks like. I've already taken the 4 screws out, but an open differential is going to have 4 gears. Okay, it's going to have a gear like that on the bottom, and then a gear on the side and another side. And what that does, once you put those pins, there we go. Once you put those pins in there, that makes the diff open so they can turn independently from each other. What we are going to get rid of today is all of those gears. We got to take all those gears out, which, where is, there we go. This is going to be a messy job. You definitely want to have some kind of rag or something sitting by. What's up? Which what are you talking about? That is an axial bomber, and we are changing the diff from open diff in the front to a locked diff so we can rock crawl a lot better. That is a full custom build mega truck that we're going to work on at some point today. But we're essentially going to be doing the same thing in both trucks. Whether we keep the lock diff in that one or not, I don't know. We'll figure that out here in a bit. But we also have more upgrades to do on this thing here. We're going to give this thing some serious love. We are, let me grab it here. Fusion SE 1800 kV 2-in-1 brushless system going in here. Right now I'm running a 1080 with a Holmes 21 or 35 turn, one of those. And it's great setup, don't get me wrong, great setup. But and for the price, absolutely. However, Nowadays, the times are changing when it comes to brush motors. Don't get me wrong, brush motors are still the cheapest option. 100% always the cheapest option with brush motors. However, the way ESC and brush motors together are costing right now, as far as cost effectiveness, all right, if I were to buy another 1080, which I don't need another 1080, but if I were to buy another 1080 and another motor, it would cost almost the same as this brushless 2-in-1. So as far as the cost savings go, brushless is actually starting to get a little cheaper. So don't sleep on these fusions, guys. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a fusion fanboy by any means because I don't have a whole lot of them. If you watched our last live stream, we installed a Fusion Pro in my son's rig. That thing crawls amazing now. I will make a video on that soon. Maybe this weekend we'll get done with that. But I liked the crawlability of that Fusion Pro so much, I decided I wasn't going to spend quite that much money on myself, but I got mine the 1800 kV, which is a little bit better than the 1200. I've had the 1200 before, and that was a little on the slow side. Still a 40 amp, but it was only 1200 kV. This should give me a decent bit of wheel speed with this rig, and that's something I want with this rig. I want some more wheel speed. So that thing's going to be a monster once we're done with it. We're going to finish this diff out. We're going to disassemble this, take it apart, do any maintenance that it needs, probably go through the transmission before we put this in, because you don't want to have a dusty old transmission and then bolt a bunch of power to it, because that is how you break stuff. So let's get started on this. Let's get started on the dirty part of the job anyway. This diff fluid, I don't know what weight it is, but it looks thick. So we are going to, we're just going to take some needle nose pliers, reach in there. Oh, it's like glue. Come on. Oh, yeah, that is some thick stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with these gears. I'm going to save these gears for other projects. Maybe I'll do something with them. Maybe I'll convert back to an open diff on another rig or something. Who knows? We'll figure that out. But I am going to save these gears. So I'm going to clean them before I put them up or whatnot. Usually when it comes to stuff like this, yeah, look at that. That is like glue, man. That is, oh, there's paper in there for some reason. That's weird. Yeah, man, that is thick stuff. It's not, I wouldn't say, I don't know what the stock fluid is in an SMT10. All right, there we go. There's our fourth gear. So you have that gear, and then you have this gear on the side. Oh, that is just sticky as all get out. Come on, get out of there. I don't want to hurt that gasket. I didn't get a new gasket. We're gonna have to reuse that. All right, so we have all the diff gears. That grease, I mean, if you wanted to clean it out real good, you could. Honestly, it's not going to matter because we're fixing to lock that thing out. So this is our... Right on! It's a great hobby. It really is. If you're even on the fence about it, just get you something small, cheap, play with it, go from there. It teaches you so many things. It teaches you electrical stuff. It teaches you mechanical stuff. I work on one-to-one stuffs also, but I prefer these because I can actually flip the rig up with my hand and work on it like that. I can't flip a one-to-one over and work on the bottom of it. I have to crawl underneath them and stuff, so that's not fun. So we have our HD heavy-duty locker right there. That's the part number if you're looking for lockers. I don't know if they make these anymore, guys. So you may have to go to eBay or something like that. I think Axial discontinued these. I could be wrong, but I think they're discontinued. So we're going to take our HD locker, and there's pinholes right here on the sides. And those little pinholes line up with these pins on the side here. So we're just going to stick that in there. Square goes in the square hole. That's it. That's all there is to it, guys. There is not a whole lot of work behind that. You just have to make sure that this square is seated in there real good, which I don't know if it is or not. We'll find out. Yeah. Nope. Yeah, that's it. Locker. Done. Now we just got to screw those ring gear screws back in and we're locked up. Now I will say something about these older Axial rigs. If you can score one off of eBay or in a swap meet or something like that, the mechanical aspects of these old Axial rigs. Now, this bomber, I bought this bomber 6 years ago, guys. And that's the stock axle shafts. Not the stock, well, I mean, it is a stock differential, but that stock differential is actually in the mud truck now. But all the mechanical metal aspects, nothing has failed in 6 years. All of this stuff is pretty much stock. Now, the one thing I can complain about the older Axial rigs, their plastics are not as strong as the new plastics. So the kind of plastics that you're going to get nowadays are just formulated better. They're chemically changed to where they can hold up to better stresses and stuff. I haven't broken anything plastic wise on this, but I have bent it. So I do recommend, if you have a bomber and you haven't changed these yet, those trailing arms, they will bend and bow on you the more you beat on it and stuff. So these are Vanquish. I'm pretty sure they're aluminum. I don't have a magnet right now to test it with, but I think they're aluminum trailing arms. And that's about the most important plastic changeover upgrade. I still have all plastic links other than those trailing arms. The trailing arms take a beating for some reason. And on another note, servos, that's not an upgraded servo. That's actually a downgraded servo from stock. The stock servo is around 25 kgs, 25 kilograms of torque. And this is actually a 15 kilogram servo. So I put a weaker servo in here and it actually still drives the same. You know, you don't really notice it or anything like that, but I don't bind myself up. I pick my lines really good. I try not to use my servo to get me out of trouble. So take that with a grain of salt. Do I recommend getting a weaker servo than stock? No, definitely not. But this was like super cheap. I want to say I got it for like $10 on AliExpress or something like that. And it's been great. It's been in there for over a year. No issues. But it is underpowered when you get bound up and stuff. But realistically, if you get bound up, just back up and try a different line. You know, that's all I can really tell you. All right, let's get the screws back in this diff so we can make sure we got everything locked up good. These are a 1.5. So they're small. You have to definitely tighten these by hand. Do not use a drill. Small screw. And you do not want to strip it out. Especially on something old and discontinued. It is not fun trying to hunt for those kind of parts. Right on, right on. I'm just starting these by hand. I carry a lot of the skills I've learned working on one-to-one stuff over into the RC world. Do you actually need to tighten these in a cross pattern? I don't know. You do on one-to-one stuff. You gotta torque your stuff down in cross patterns. Does it really matter on RC stuff? I have no idea. It's just a force of habit at this point. Speaking of that, at some point, once it warms up a little bit more, probably late spring or early summer, we'll probably be either live streaming or videoing me working on my one-to-one rig, because I got to replace U-joints in the axle shafts and stuff, and that might be an interesting video. We're going to hook up our Helios driver here. I love this driver. Take it with me everywhere. It's perfect trail trail tool. I'm just going to carefully tighten these. Do not over torque them. All right, so that's it, guys. That's all there is to putting in a locker. It's pretty self-explanatory. Maybe that's why there's not a whole lot of videos on it. I'm guessing. I'm not sure. Man, I should have paid attention when I put this in here. So the cool thing about AR60s, and the not cool thing, is that this differential and ring gear can go in that way, and it can go in that way. It can go in both ways. SCX2s can't do that. So what's funny about that is if you don't put that in there correctly, you could have wheels going the opposite direction from each other. So you have to kind of pay attention to that. Now, if I remember correctly, if we're going forward, it'll spin like this. Right? I think so. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it goes that way. So what we'll do is we'll put the bearing caps on. We'll leave the diff cover off just to make sure that we're going in the right direction. But let's get these axle shafts in. All right. We got one in. And now we got two. And we're definitely locked. Oh, I guess I could back up some so you could actually see what I'm doing. All right, so we have the dog bones right here. And we are fully locked now, which that's the way the stock one was. We're essentially going from open. We changed it to open, and now we're going back to locked. Whoops, dropping stuff. That's the one thing I need too. All right. If you don't know anything about the type of grease I use, I always use marine grease because we do a lot of water crossings and stuff, and marine grease is specially formulated to work with water. Not necessarily with water, but it's meant to repel water. So by lining all of this stuff, you don't pack these, you don't fill them with grease, but just lining all your seals with a little bit of marine grease, like so. Just a little bit of marine grease, and that creates kind of a waterproof gasket. That's how you can keep your drivetrain waterproof. So you can drive in the water and all that. Waterproofing electronics, most electronics nowadays are already waterproof, but there's always a little bit more you can do, like using balloons and stuff. I have other videos that show waterproofing electronics. I probably need to organize my my playlists a little more, because a lot of that stuff is jumbled up between running videos and maintenance videos, building videos. I do try and organize that stuff, but I'm not always up to date on everything. And see, just like in the one-to-one, you would keep these loose and tighten them in a cross pattern. Now, because these caps are plastic, I know for a fact you really don't have to do that on RCs, but I still do it. Building and maintenance is just another aspect of the hobby. As much as I love driving them, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I would love to be the person that says, "Oh, it broke," and just drop it off at somebody. Drop it off to somebody and be like, "Hey, can you fix this? I broke it again." But I fix all my own stuff. It's way too expensive to pay somebody to fix your stuff for you. My personal opinion. But I have the time to work on stuff like this. Alright, we're a little snug there. Definitely don't over tighten these, because they're plastic, so you can strip them. You'll strip the threads inside the axle housing, and good luck trying to find a plastic axle housing. You'll have to go to a eBay or get lucky at a swap meet to find one of those axle housings. All right, so we're all locked up there. Now we just got to make sure we're going in the right direction, which we can do that by installing the drive shaft. Where's that drive shaft pin? It's in here somewhere. There we go. Let's put the drive shaft back on, and then we'll rotate it forward and make sure we're going in the right direction before we go any further. Like I said, these AR60s, they're very versatile. You can build a lot of cool stuff with an AR60 axle. Get back in there. Get back in there. All right, now, let's see if we can raise you up some. Put that in there. Come on. Where's the hole? I'm trying to be scale, working on my scale jack stands. Come on. Help me out, gravity. Bro, where is the pin? There we go. There we go. Get back. Get back. There we go. Nice. In there? Alright, we're in. Alright, so let's make sure they're going in the same direction. And they are. Okay, cool. I don't always get that on the first try. Sometimes I have to take everything back apart and do it again. Alright, we're going to tighten up that drive shaft pin. You don't have to put thread locker on it if it's a plastic drive shaft. If it's a metal drive shaft, you definitely want to put some kind of thread locker on there. But alright, we are locked up all the way around now. Good deal there. We're gonna... Honestly, that grease looks still brand new. I mean, this has only had, I think, 3 or 4 runs on it since I did all this grease work. And that's still a really good seal right there. So we're just gonna pop that right back on. And yeah. Just like that. I don't think you can put it on that way, can you? No, it won't let you. Good. Good. Ta-da! The logo is... Oh no, that's the right way. So it's upside down on the back side, I think. Maybe. I don't know. We're still running stock hubs. Oh, you can't see them. Hang on. Still running the stock hubs. They have a little bit of play in them, but like I said, this thing's 6 years old and it has a lot of runtime on it. And these never broke. Not trying to jinx myself. Knock on wood somewhere. But yeah, they just don't, they really don't make them like they used to. Speaking of axial reliability, and like I said, this was before Horizon purchased them, I think. It might have been right around that transition time was the bomber. I don't know my axial history super well. I just know that they were bought by Horizon, and Horizon slowly started changing stuff with manufacturers and stuff like that. But the bearing that the hub rides on, so this is your axle cup. It goes into the C-hub there. But that bearing is the original bearing from 6 years ago. And it's still good. It still spins nice and smooth. I've had this thing in mud and water and everything, and I've never had to change that bearing in 6 years of running. I barely even clean it. I mean, I might spray some Dawn dish liquid and clean them up every once in a while and let them dry out good, and little spritz of WD-40, but the bearing's not even noisy. Still spins just as good as it was when it was new. And that can't be said for some of that newer axial stuff. Some of those bearings are just, they don't hold up well. So, I don't know. The one thing I did need to change plastic-wise are 2 things, okay? So, Vanquish trailing arms, and then also your steering link. Now, this also goes for the Wraiths, too. I had a few of those Wraiths. But you really need a metal steering link. The plastic steering link, it bends and bows, and you can't really control your tires all that well. But that's about it. I mean, those people that deck everything all out in metal, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. Super cool. Lots of cool points. But I only ever really replace stuff when it breaks or when it has to be replaced. And like I said, we've been running this thing for 6 years and haven't really had any issues with it. Other than, like we might smoke a brushed motor or something like that. We do have an upgraded spur gear, a different pinion, and that's all on, how you want to drive it. If you want it to go faster, if you want it to crawl better, you can play with the gear ratios and learn that way. But realistically, man, this has been a really, really reliable rig. I wish they would bring them back. I really do. I don't know if they even still own the rights to make that stuff anymore. That could be why they don't make them anymore. But man, if they were going to bring just one of those trucks back, the Bomber would definitely be one. I would love to see a Bomber 2.0 come back or something. I don't know, but I don't think we'll ever get it again. I think they've decided to just kill off all of their really fun rigs, which they have a terrible habit about doing that. Because like the Unimog 6x6, that was a super fun rig. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting stuff back together. The Unimog 4x4 was an awesome rig, and those are worth a lot of money now. They'll never make those again. If you have a favorite discontinued Axial, comment it. Maybe there's something I don't even know about. I want to say they started back in the day with the AX10, I think was the first thing they started with. I never got one of those. Oh man, I got diff grease glue all over my servo arm. That's another thing too. I'm running a plastic servo arm. Now, I know in the crawler world, everybody's like, oh, that'll snap. I've had this on here over a year. Hasn't broken. Hasn't even bent. So, again, think about stuff before you just start upgrading. Only upgrade if you really need to. There's no point. I forgot to put those little metal collars in. But you only need to upgrade stuff if you are breaking things. And if you're breaking things, you might want to try and figure out why you're breaking them. Like, is it a driver issue? Is it a temperature issue? Like, there's lots of factors that can cause stuff to break. And I definitely don't recommend being one of those people that buys a brand new RTR and then just immediately starts throwing upgrades at it. By all means, like, if you want stuff to be better, that's one thing, but you got to drive it first to know if you actually need to improve something. Otherwise, you're just throwing money down a rabbit hole and you don't even know if it's going to make it better. Sometimes you can make the performance worse by upgrading stuff. You might think you're upgrading stuff and you actually made it too heavy to operate correctly or something like that. All right, where's my other sleeve? Where'd you go? It's in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. All right, and get all the metal sleeves in. We're already starting to get dirty. I got one glove on. I should have put two. Wasn't thinking about that. All right, now we're going to slide our axle cups on. Oh, we dropped one. Get back in there. Get back in there. Sometimes you need to dab a little grease on these things to get them to stay in place. Whoop, dropped that one too. All right, let's try this one more time. Get on there. Don't you fall again. Don't do it. We got that one on. Go. Ah, stay. Spin that axle cup a little bit. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Ta-da! All right. Now, we'll put our screws in. And that is a 2. Yeah. And this will pretty much carry over Oh, how did that happen? Not paying attention. Looking at the screen. Get out of there. Come on. There we go. But pretty much what we're doing is going to carry over directly onto the SMT axle. It's just a different steering setup. Other than that, it's pretty much the exact same. Where are the other screws? There we go. And put that one in there and lock that one in. Get bad. Alright, then we got you. Whoops. Get in there. Lift it up. I got the receiver already pulled out of this because we're going to be changing to that fusion after we put this together. All right, bottom one's in. Got one left. There you are. Whoa, easy. Put that in there. Come in. Probably could do some of this with a drill to speed up the process, but just kind of having a slow day today. If you guys are curious about my SnowRunner live streams, I didn't just quit them. I've just been super busy. Just haven't had time to live stream. We'll get to it though. All right, now all we have left to do. What do we have left to do? Oh, we got to put those bolts on. Yeah. We put the diff cover on and then didn't bolt it down. I've done that several times. Gone out trailing, and the grease just held the diff cover in place for me the whole time while I was out on the trail. And then I come back later and be like, oh, I never bolted that down. Get this one in. These are 1.5s also, so you got to be real careful not to strip them. Not my favorite hardware size. Whoa. Don't flip. As soon as you start to feel any resistance on there, they're pretty much tight. Like I said, the grease pretty much holds that cap in place, so these screws definitely hold it in there fine. And they hold it in there good enough to keep the water out. And last one. Back you go. This should greatly improve the recent performance loss. At least bring us back to stock performance. I'm excited to crawl with this thing with a fusion in it. I'm willing to bet that it's really controlled. Right. Close to center. It was centered when I unbolted it, so hopefully that's center. If not, we'll change it or program around it. Is that? Yes, that is the correct screw. All right, let's go. And then we're pretty much done with the front end. Not putting the tires on yet because we have to unbolt the cage and all that stuff. Let's let you guys get a better angle of the mega truck while I unbolt everything on the bomber. That thing needs to be washed. I took it out in the snow when we got some snow and there was mud in the snow. Little better angle. There we go. Alright, so what I'm going to do, these are the wheels and tires that we're running on the bomber. That's some TSL bogger looking things. Those things are nice. We'll get those up there. This is going to be kind of a hands-on job to unbolt all of this. Can you see my hands? No, not really. Hang on. Let's get about there. There we go. That'll work. Now is a good time to break this out. Now that's going to go over there. We're going to try and get that done. Where are we at on time? We're 36 minutes in. Okay, so we got time to do this. We can knock this out. Let me get a paper towel going. Yeah. Hate the smell of differential grease. Pretty potent. Ugh. Alright, we need a tube. I need a tube. Where's my tube? I need a good tube. Where's it at? That's a 2.5. Not gonna help. Where's the tube? That's a 2. That'll work. Alright. Now, fastest way to take the cage off, unbolt the shocks, and then those and the cage should just lift off. We don't need these. We're going to tuck that back up in there for right now. I'll make good use. I'm going to put these gears in here so that we don't lose them. And the drive pin. Alright. And then we just start unbolting everything. Oops. I think while we have everything taken apart, we're definitely going to do a deep clean, but we're also going to possibly repaint some stuff or paint some new stuff. These panels are getting worn out. As much as I like those stickers and stuff, they're all chipping away and they've got 6 years of bashing on them. Oh, I didn't even... You guys probably can't see me. Hang on. I didn't even show you this. Check this out. How cool is that? Mechanic special. But there. But yeah, I like that because if I gotta look somewhere specific, I have that little beam of light that I can turn on and off without getting it all greasy. There you go. Makes things pretty handy. Get out of there. Let you get those. Yep. All right, that side's done. Now we gotta get this one. screw. Oops. Got for there. Come on. Short screw. We do the other side. I do like working on these buggies. They seem to be sometimes easier to work on. They're simpler, but they're also more complicated in other ways. Because you have to deal with the cage. Short screw. There we go. All right, cage should come off. Oh, no. We got two more. All right, now the cage should come off. Pop that out. Still running the stock shocks on this, but we're also running a TRX4 shock in the front and a 120 Desert Lizard in the back. And that seems to be a good combination for what we're doing. All right. Yeah, that's pretty dirty, and we got a lot of paint chipping off. We got quite a bit of cleaning to do on this. Transmission looks good. Oh, that's right. We did take that transmission apart. I do remember that in our last live stream with this let me turn that off. We did take this transmission all the way apart, so I guess I don't have to worry about that. I completely forgot I did that. But transmission has been rebuilt within the last month, and all we really got to do is just wash this skid plate out a little bit. We're going to change the motor, pull the ESC, undo the balloon of the receiver, and re-balloon it, and we should be ready to throw down. We need snips. And just start digging into these electronics here. The waterproof receiver box in the Bomber, not waterproof. Just letting you know, it's not actually waterproof. You go and sink this in the water, it's gonna get in there. This little rubber grommet thing, it does not keep everything out. What will keep everything out as far as water goes is a balloon. This is how I waterproof all my ESCs, or not ESCs, all my receivers are waterproofed with balloons. So it's a black balloon with zip ties around it, and that just holds the receiver in place. I leave the antenna out, and you can drive underwater. That's as simple as it gets. I made quite a few videos on waterproofing with balloons. To me, it's the cheapest, most effective way to waterproof stuff. Because, I mean, how much does a balloon and a couple zip ties cost? Like, nothing. How much does a new receiver cost when you get it wet? Like 60 or 80 bucks. So take care of your receivers. These balloons are usually one-time use. I got a whole rat nest of wires in there. Oh, we got extra lights we could run. Huh. I forgot those were there. I mean, it's been quite a while since I had this receiver out to do any kind of electronics changing or anything like that. I haven't really needed to change anything. This has been a really reliable rig. All right, let's go ahead and rip that 1080 out. We're going to leave the servo and the lights. All we need to take out is the throttle. All right, and we'll find something to do with that 1080 later. 1080 is a really great ESC for brush motors. Super affordable. Oh wow. I'm glad I saw that. Apparently, the back wires have been rubbing into the frame. So we'll have to fix that. I'll have to put some shrink tube around them and seal those back up before I put it in something else. Also going to yank that power button out. We'll probably put the new power button in the same spot because it's pretty much identical. I think it's a little longer, but other than that, that should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and rip this out. I'm going to unplug the motor from it. And that's it. Get off of there. All right, yep. 1080, good to go. Looks like I had that problem multiple times. Oh no, I just soldered on new leads. Huh, I wonder why I did that. It's been so long, I really don't remember stuff. These electronics have been in here for years. This is a, oh wow. This is a version 1 1080. They don't even make these anymore. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, this is the version 1 1080. Now they're all version 2s. They come with all those extra plugs. I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, that's an old school 1080. Huh. That's like at least 3 or 4 years old, I think. So that should be good for something. We'll figure out something to do with that. Maybe we'll put it, who knows, we might put it in that. I think I have a 1060 in that, so that would be a little bit of an upgrade to put that 1080 in there. A little better, better amperage. This should be, I think, a 3. I think these bolts are a 3. They look too big to be a 2.5. But, good gosh. I like these old school style of gear mesh adjustment that has the rotator in it. That you can actually fine tune your gear mesh. If your gear mesh is a little too noisy, you can tune it. Go ahead and get that out. Whoops, accidentally turned on my light. That's fine. I could use the light. Get this gear cover off. Let's see what kind of state that is. I'm probably going to go ahead and run the same pinion. We're just going to swap pinions onto the new motor. I want to say this is a 64 tooth hot racing spur. I don't know what that pinion is. I think it's a 12 tooth pinion. I don't know, we'll have to take it off and see. Loosen that up. What does that say? It's 11. It's 11 tooth pinion. I was close. Which this motor's still good. We'll probably put that 550. Oh, it is a 550. Nice. 20, is it 21 or 27? It's a 21 turn, so yeah, it's pretty fast turning 550. So that might be a good backup for the mega truck for sure. These big old bulky bolts out of here. That's done. Yeah, the old school axial style, all you had to do is rotate like that. You would rotate it around, and that moves your pinion closer or further away from your spur gear. I always thought that was really cool. That's a nice way to adjust it. And it hasn't really ever let me down, so I'm pretty happy with that too. Alright, where is our 2? Yep, we're going to take off this. Probably clean that motor up a little bit. Give it a slight reconditioning. Get off there. Come on. There we go. And that's all there is to it. It's in pretty good shape still. Magnets still feel good. That motor is at least 2 years old. I want to say 2 years ago this was like 16 or 18 bucks. So yeah, it's definitely paid for itself. But now we're adding big power. I haven't even taken this out of the box yet. There we go. Instructions. We don't need instructions. What do we need instructions for? Yeah, that power button's a little bit bigger. We might have to suck it in to get it to go in there. Oh, they gave us a zip tie too. That was nice of them. Might see some double stick tape in here. Who knows? Got a extendo cable there. I don't think we'll need that. Get all of this out of here. I like that it already comes with an XT60. That's kind of my preferred battery connector is XT60s. Yeah, it's pretty nice looking motor. It looks identical to the 1200 kV one. I don't see any difference really. Does it even say 1800 on it anywhere? Okay, it does. It does say 1800 on it right there. That's pretty much the only difference you can tell on them. All right, let's get this oriented. I like that it gives you lots of bolt patterns too to orientate your electronics however you want. I'm gonna say let's orientate them like this, about like that. Get them started on both sides. I know the TRX4s, you kind of just put the screw in the selected slot or whatnot, and that's supposed to be the perfect gear mesh, but I don't always think it's the absolute most efficient gear mesh. Like, yes, that gear mesh is going to work, but it might be a little noisy, or it might not have the proper contact that you're looking for. All right, let's give that a little spin on the flat side. Put our pinion back in. And now we are going to rotate this. Well, let's get the pinion on first. It's lined up. Definitely don't over tighten these. It's a good way to lose opinion. I've done it. Done it a few times. Alright, so now we're gonna rotate this until it lines up. Okay, we have learned. I don't like that. That's rubbing against there too much. So if it needs to be that far over, we need to move those a little bit over so that we can bring those wires back up. I don't like pinching wires unless there's just no other option. Come on, get up there. So it needs to be like that. So we need to, what, about there? Yeah, about there. There's lots of adjustability in this thing. You can pretty much put whatever you want in here within reason. I mean, you can't exactly squeeze a 8 scale motor in here, I don't think, but it held a 550 just fine. All right, now that's on there good. Hopefully our wires will not pinch. Set that back down in there. Rotate, rotate. See, that's too loose. You can hear it. Rotate a little bit. Getting quieter. That's too far. Whoops, turn my light off. Get out of here. You gotta watch turning your head when you do this. Kind of a fine tune. That's not bad. Now let's put the cap on. Once you put the cap on, it's gonna mess with the adjustment just a little bit, so you have to eyeball that. But I like to have them where they're just a teensy bit of play in there. I mean, you can do the wax paper method or whatnot. That works too. But that doesn't always get you as close as you could be. You can get a quieter gear mesh without using wax paper. But we'll bind a controller to this and test this out before we bolt everything back together. I've learned the hard way multiple times, especially when it comes to gear mesh. You really got to make sure that that gear mesh is how you want it before you put everything back together. Especially with something with this much adjustability. Boy, this 3mm hardware it's like turning a ratchet. I feel like I'm working on my 1-to-1 over here. Takes a bit of effort. All right, there's just a barely little bit of play in there. Let's see how noisy this thing is. We're going to throw a battery in it. First thing we got to do is actually plug it into the receiver. Get that going. I have an actual spare channel on this. I could run something else if I wanted to. Wanted to animate a driver or something. I have a channel ready for that. I don't know if I'll take the time to do that. Definitely not getting done today, but all right, we are plugged up. Now we just got to bind a controller to it. I am probably just going to bind one of my DX3s. Let me go grab one of those. Alright, we got DX3. This, I don't know if you guys know how to bind these or not, but it's pretty simple. Need a battery. Let's we don't have tires on it, so I guess that doesn't matter. We're just gonna put a 3-cell on it for right now, just to wake it up. Alright, 3-cell is plugged in. Now for binding spectrum stuff, I don't know if it's the same. I think it's the same with everything. But if I'm not mistaken, you put your receiver into bind mode first. So, and with these spectrums, this is an SR315. So this little button right here, you push and hold that while you power it on, and that will put it into bind mode. So not super complicated. And then with the, let me back you guys up a little bit. It's kind of the same principle with the controller. So you have a bind button right here. You're going to hold the bind button and turn that on. But like I said, I'm almost positive you do the receiver first. It will work both ways most of the time, but if it doesn't work, just try doing the orientation. So we're going to hold this button, turn that on, and we're blinking. Hold, turn on, and we're bound. That's all there is to it, guys. Steering. All right, now let's hear that gear mesh. Got my light on there. Get that shock out of the way. Get out of the way. All right, so where's my light? There's my light. All right. See, that's too close. That sounds atrocious. So we're going to go ahead and just leave it on, and we're going to adjust that gear mesh until we find a sound that's pleasing to the ear holes. So, and the nice thing about this particular type of gear mesh adjustment is all you got to do is loosen it. You don't have to take the whole thing apart. You just got to loosen it some, and you can back it out by rotating the motor. So we're going to rotate it a little bit. We're talking yeah. All right, and now we're going to, there we go. Now we're going to screw this back down, test it again. Like I said, your gear mesh will change a little bit when you tighten this down. And it also depends on how tight you go. You really don't want to go too tight, but let's listen now. That's pretty close. Wow, that FOC is pretty gnarly. I think we're still a little too close. Like, it's dead silent when you're going slow. As you speed up, actually, you know what? The more I look at it, I think it's fine. I really do. I think we're right on the line between good gear mesh and loose gear mesh. I think it could be a little looser. I don't know if we're gonna get enough out of it. I don't know. We can try. We got time. I think. I think we got time. Right? We're a little bit over an hour, but that's okay. Let's at least get this gear mesh done, and then we'll call it a day. So let's loosen her up just a little bit. We're talking like, eh. Loosen that up just a smidge more. Let's see if we can get there. Yep, just a smidge. You have to tighten these up and sort of in sync, just so it clamps down on it correctly. There you go. All right. Now, did it get quieter or did it get louder? Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking is that it actually got louder at low RPMs, but quieter at high RPMs. We're definitely getting some wheel speed out of this. Let's see if I can play with the throttle. Can I see the throttle? There you go. Looky there. Yeah, you guys aren't even... I don't know if I can zoom in good enough to show you guys. There we go. How satisfying is that? Get over there. I may even be able to go slower than that. Oh! Focus. There we go. That is the beauty of brushless. Leave that shock alone. Stop looking at the shock. Look at the gear. How slow can you go? I'd say that's pretty good. Dead silent. I love fusions. Let's beautiful. I don't care for reverse. I think we need to do something about reverse a little bit. It is a little noisy. Honestly, I think I'm going to tighten it up just a smidge. But it's pretty quiet. For that being a metal spur gear, you're only going to get it so quiet. If you want a true super quiet drivetrain, you need a plastic spur gear if you want to be like extremely quiet. Metal spur gear. Let's test out the FOC. Oh, wow. I can't even hold it. I can't even hold it down. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. I'm trying. Guys, I am trying. You can't stop this thing. That's insane. And you can even get it slower. Look at that. Let's try and go even slower. Oh, wow. That's insane. You wouldn't even be able to see that on the tires. And I still can't stop it. Oh my gosh, I'm pinching it hard. And it's like, nope, we're going to keep going. That's crazy. All right, so I'm going to play with that gear mesh a little bit more. And we'll get everything cleaned up, buttoned up. Might paint some panels today, might not. We'll see what we get to. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned something or at least got some entertainment out of it. I've got a really, really awesome full-length video coming out today at 5. It's the Jurassic Park Jeep. I did some stop motion animation. I am not a stop motion animator by any means, but I decided to have a little fun with it. So let me know what you guys think on that when it comes out. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, all that good jazz. Yeah, we got lots of cool stuff coming out. So we'll catch you on the next one. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching.